everyone to the Games of Norway livestream for Friday. This is the Games of Norway livestream where we are celebrating the Norwegian game development scene with a huge event with nearly all of what Norway has to offer, with a huge Steam sale as well as this live stream. And for today, the start of Friday, we're going to be talking about a game called Eydigard. And to talk about that, we have the CEO of Frostisen Games. It's Jostein Forselv. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So now, Jostein, let's start with who are you and who is Frostisen Games?
Yeah, Frostisen Games started out with 3 friends up in northern Norway. We wanted to make video games, so we made a studio together. We didn't have any experience at all when we started. So I think I'm an engineer. The 2 others were engineers and economists. So we did no programming, and we had a lot of hours playing games, but we have never made one.
So but now you've started making games, and your first project is Eydigard. Is that correct?
Yeah. We did a classic cliche of starting big, doing a co-op RPG open world game. But I think
sounds like a simple project.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you tell us about Eydigard? What is this project? And I know, well, tell me about it first.
Yeah, so the idea is to play. We're a bit old school gamers, so we wanted to play RPGs that are a little bit more slow, not having arrows pointing where we want to go, and we wanted to make something that really felt like fairy tales of Norway. So if you think more like The Witcher, what that does for the Polish folk tales, Eydigard tries to do something similar for Norwegian folk tales. So the market is very saturated with Norwegian, like Viking aesthetics, a sort of like a Marvel-style myth fragments where everything is not exactly how we Norwegians remembered it. So we wanted to go more into the folk tales as the folk tale canon as collected by Asbjørnsen and Mo. You know, we have the Huldra, the Nuck, you have trolls of every scale, and you have the kind of the landscape, and you have, as we remember it. And we also wanted also to put it into a setting of Norwegian history that is maybe a bit overlooked, but where a lot of the culture we know come from. After the Black Plague, you have the farms, and you have the kind of the myths about Pesta, the woman with the scythe and the broom walking around. So it's slightly different than the Viking, and also something that is very familiar to Norwegians, I think.
Yeah, showing like the wider Norwegian historical culture and stuff. I know you've been working with several cultural actors, one of them being Sametinget. Can you talk about some of the people you've worked with in order to get the culture right, and how that process has been?
Yeah, because the game takes place in northern Norway. So obviously in northern Norway in the 16th century, there's Samis as well. And I'm not Sami myself, and no one in the team is, but we wanted to make it authentic. So we talked to the Sami parliament, and they pointed us to some historians, and we talked to them, and they had some things that they felt was very important to convey accurately. So the clothing are very accurate, which is actually quite hard because today Norwegians, when they see Sami clothing, they think from one particular place up in Karasjok or Kautokeino, and that's correct. But also on the coast, there's actually a lot of lost clothing and languages. So we had to look. So if you are a Sami historian, you can easily see, okay, that's from there and there. In the same way as we Norwegians can see where a bunad is from, where you are in the country. So I was actually surprised how much richness there was in this, in their stories and clothes.
So trying to be as legitimate as possible, and not just like, as you said, the kind of the pop culture version of the culture, but actually finding the real details. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
What has been some of the challenges, or like some of the unique processes this far in development?
From the cultural point of view, I think one thing is that actually houses back then, we really worked with our artists to make houses accurate, and houses back then didn't have windows because you didn't have glass at that time. So when you think fantasy, okay, you have glass windows, you have like these cottages, but actually that didn't exist. So if you go to the Norwegian Folk Museum in Bygdøy in Norway, you will see that there's no windows in the houses. So how do we do it with the lighting inside? And there's a lot of challenges and discussions how accurate should we do this? Because if you look at into modern fantasy games, there's a lot of things that we take for granted that wasn't there, and also a lot of food sources that came from America, tomatoes, potatoes, etc. That feels very Norwegian as these potatoes, but they hadn't arrived in Europe back then.
Yeah, and how has that been, like the balance between accurate and still making a game that's one you can actually make, and that two still feels fun to play? Has there been any choices where you have to like sacrifice one for the other?
I think in the kind of magic system of the game, I think we would say, okay, there's, of course, you can do shapeshifting, which is from this, but also going into more into the magic system. I think we said, okay, trolls have magic. There is things happening that isn't really correct, and actually, if you wear this cloak, you will actually become less visible, and so trying to do more of it, making it more like an RPG game and not like a simulator. Like I think games who do more simulators, more like Kingdom Come Deliverance, they would be a lot more like a simulator. We try to make it a bit more fun with the fantasy.
Yeah, historical and like fun. As you said, not a simulator, but taking as much inspiration as possible, I guess.
Yeah, making the kind of frame feels make it feel authentic, but still a fantasy game.
Yes. What has been like, maybe if you have like one thing that you or the team has learned that surprised you, that has been like a fun thing you didn't know before you started this project?
One thing about the game, I think kind of how easy it was to set something up was quite interesting. So not in a cultural way, but how easy it was to set up a game and actually deliver it on Steam was surprising. It feels like before I started making video games, it felt like a very huge, like it was almost impossible. You needed a huge team to make a game, and then so okay, actually, if you use if you use an engine like Unity or Unreal and you do some coding, then you can actually have something up and running quite quickly.
Wonderful. We're going to jump in the game real soon, but just like if people get more curious about learning more about the cultural part of the game, is there anything where they can go to like read more about the game or more about your work?
So we have, if you buy the game, yeah, please do. There's you also get what you call like our art Bible, and there we talk about the characters and how we worked with our concept artists to make the game. Of course, and also in game you have the codex where you can read about the lore. So we've written paragraphs about each animal and character, and yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, so Jostein, we're going to try to jump into the game now, and hopefully you guys will be able to see it as well and hear it, but we'll see. Can you explain to us, where are we now?
Okay, right now we're one of the farms. So because the setting of the game is post Black Plague, so most of the farms are abandoned. But this is one of the last remaining farms, which still have people, hardy people living here. So this is one of the houses I was talking about, where we try to make it very accurate with the it's not thatched, I think it's turfed, grass on the roof, all the carvings, trying to make it accurate, and it's supposed to feel like you are in a folk museum. Let's see.
And no windows.
No windows. Very humble. But instead they have these openings in the roofs where you're supposed to have the the smoke go out.
Yeah.
Also, we looked into a lot of. I think Norway is very. There's a lot of stuff from the 1700s, which is, for example, this tool here is what you use to you crush flax in there to make linen clothes. So you put the flax in here and you just like crush it over time, and it will turn into fibers which you can make linen clothes from.
And is there is there a way for me in the game to learn about this tool, or is it just like an Easter egg sort of?
I think it's more the NPCs will work with it, but you will do more like smelting and more of those typical cross things.
Cool.
Same with this house. I think it's actually a sauna, which actually used back then. They used those to clean themselves, but also to clean to dry things. So it's more like this is the place where we put a lot of heat and things will dry.
Yeah. Drying room.
Also people.
Yes.
Yeah, but also for washing people or washing yourself. And of course, every time you cleanse a farm in the game, people will move back in, and you as a player will get like a sort of player house, which of course is the loft, because loft, or some people call it stabbur, is the kind of house where you normally hosted guests, or you will keep your valuables.
Yes.
Of course, since you're hosting, since you are a guest on the farm, you will have this house as your own. So, yeah. So in here, this is you can't cleanse this farm, but in the other farms you will get a bed here, and you will get some like a chest where you can put your stuff. And then once you do that, you will also have a kitchen house. One thing that's actually a challenge where we actually said that we wanted more realism than gameplay is that in back then you had like one house for each kind of activity. So you have one for living in, one where you kept your belongings, one for washing, one for like a fireplace. So
instead of one room, several rooms in a house, there's several houses in a farm.
Exactly. So in here's the kitchen house where you do all the butchering and all the cooking the meat and all of those things. So if you want to cook there, you have to walk in here. If you want to go to the blacksmith, you go to the blacksmith house. But also, if you want to go to your chest, it's in a different house. So some people might find that a bit tedious, but it's for us, it's about putting everything in one big house like a barn, or it wouldn't feel like realistic enough for us.
So as I'm hearing you talk about this game must have like a surprising, or maybe not surprising, like a really big like educational value as well.
Well, hopefully, because we try to be accurate, but also with how we try to depict the Northern Norway. Of course, these houses were probably not as much as in Northern Norway. It feels something you have more in the valleys of the south. And if you go here, I mean, you wouldn't have a Norwegian game without some of the typical Norwegian enemies. So we try to avoid goblins and orcs, but these are more like Vettir. Oh. Which is kind of our... Do you have any weapons? Try to push to the right or left on your stick, and it will change form. Yeah.
Oh wow. Oh okay. I was really bad at this. I'm sorry. So now I'm a wolf, I believe.
Yep. You're a wolf and I'm a bear, and you can shapeshift between 4 different shapes. You see, well, you have a lot of arrows in you. So in this game, you can be human, bear, lynx, of course. So if for people who play World of Warcraft, that would be your kind of cat form.
Yeah.
You're kind of sneaking around. But of course, it's in Norway, so you have to use the Norwegian animal, which is the lynx.
Yes. And now we've been talking about like how you made the games, but like Eydigard, what is the goal of the game, or like what is the game about? Yeah,
the game is okay. So you arrive in a fjord where there are 2 families wrestling for control. And also, the backdrop here is, of course, the Black Plague has been there. So almost all of the farms are deserted and actually haunted by the Black Plague. Then there are some of the mythological creatures from the Norwegian folktales who some of the more intelligent ones are scheming and making the Vettir more aggressive. So you have like a long main quest chain you can follow and defeat more and more of the bosses, like the Fossegrim, or the Sea Troll and Nøkken, etc. All of these, but in a true kind of old school fashion, like Gothic or even Daggerfall or up to Skyrim. There's you don't have to do the main quest. You can just go around, make money. You can go and do side quests. You can do that without moving the kind of main quest forward.
Yeah, so it sounds like quite an open experience.
Yeah. So if you press the map, you can see that would be D-pad and then tabbing to the map.
Yep, I have a map now.
Yeah, so that is actually a real fjord that we've made. So this is a real fjord. It is taken from satellite images and scanned in. So you have the height is based on the real map, and of course it's scaled slightly different, but this is actually a real fjord. So
really,
yeah,
cool. You've spoken about like you're working with the different partners. Have you gotten any responses from them? Have they seen the game, and like what has their responses been to the game, like with the finished product?
So we're still in early access, but I think the kind of Sami advisors we have thought it was really cool seeing the Sami villages, because a lot of that has been through kind of clothes and or they don't have written everything, or at least not painted everything, or so actually seeing us rebuild how they think it was quite I think quite interesting for them to see.
Yeah. Okay, show me something else in the game.
Okay, let's see if we can find a more of like a dungeon.
I'm gonna stay as a wolf, so.
Yeah, you're faster as a wolf. So here's one of the really, really large trees. We started here's the more fantasy more than realism, because we wanted one of the silver pines you can see in Norway, and we wanted to make it really to make it like a landmark. So we made it probably 100 times larger than it was supposed to be. But sometimes when you walk in the forest, it feels like they are that big, but they aren't.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess that's like the balance of like being as accurate as possible historically, but still managing to make like a fantasy setting out of it.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a beautiful forest.
Yeah, and we try to make it with trees we have up in northern Norway, where we are from.
Yeah. So how you mentioned you've now released in early access. How has the early access launch been? Has it been going good? How has the feedback been?
We launched in a quite rough state, to be honest. So there were a lot of bugs, and once you kind of committed to a launch date, you're kind of stuck with it the last few weeks. Let's go inside the dungeon here. Just run and then run into the dungeon.
Yeah.
So the launch was very rough for us. We spent the first 2-3 weeks just fixing game-breaking bugs almost. But we've had a lot of people from Norway who are really kind of loyal. Or think it's really cool, and they've given us a lot of feedback. So I think people like the game, but we struggle a bit with visibility, because it's there's so many games on Steam, and you need a momentum to be picked up by the marketing algorithms.
If only there was a live streamed event where we can show games from Norway in some way.
Yeah.
Yes. And I just noticed now the music as well sounds very like Norwegian, like the folkeeventyr. It's very like almost it's very Norwegian-y, which is a bad word, but like can you talk about who did the music?
We had a composer called Maren Selvåg. She made all the music. She's I think she's a Norwegian composer, of course, and she specializes in jazz actually, but made this music. And we have even the fiddle is live. It's a real instrument recorded by what's it called? It's a violinist. So he plays several instruments. So mostly you make music on the computer nowadays, even as a composer, but we had live fiddle playing on top of it to make it even more authentic, because fiddle is actually quite hard, and especially Hardanger fiddle is quite hard to. It's too perfect when you do it on a computer. So actually needs some of the
imperfections.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, Dobbelgubben's Hall. It reminded me of like the reminds me of that kind of music. So now we're in a dungeon.
Exactly.
What's happening here?
Here is the Vettir. That's the underground kind of the industrial, more intelligent. Like trolls are stupid and they don't have like a real society. But these are the Vettir. They're very organized. They are what we call in Norwegian folklore like the under people, like the people who lived underground.
Yeah.
And we've made them a little bit more evil, maybe in the tales. Some tales have them like more neutral or like mischievous, but these are kind of more evil.
Yeah.
And they've been manipulated, so they're actually up in the above the ground, raiding the farms and ruining things. So as a player, you need to go down here to get ingredients or magical items, so you can make a talisman or like a powerful item, so that you can banish the plague from the farms.
Yes.
So you need some underground magic to do that. So at that.
No, go ahead.
At this part, it's a very typical dungeon crawl, or not dungeon crawl, but more like a dungeon game where you go down, you prepare with your friends, and then you going like find items inside the dungeon. And I think we are like, this is a bit early game, so they aren't too hard, but I don't think we have much equipment either. So
yeah. And as you can see on stream, we're now playing multiplayer. Would you say this is a multiplayer game first and foremost, or is it a single player game but you can play co-op?
I would say, I think it actually could be both. I mean, I think you can have a very good single player experience, but personally I like playing these type of games co-op. I always wanted to play together with friends, like games like Witcher or Skyrim or Oblivion. But I'm more like a multiplayer type of player. So for me, having co-op was it had to be there from the start.
And you mentioned this.
And there's also
yeah, go ahead.
There's also some challenges by making things co-op because the story games, like whose story do you follow?
Yeah.
Who's the main character, sort of. So in here, like you're more like a party, and I think we found like a good balance, because if you play games like Diablo, you join people's games and you play like one character, but you are maybe 5 people in the game, and you kind of the host is the main character, and then the other ones are just like supporting characters. Yeah. So I think story-wise, it isn't really a problem, and also you have individual reputation bars. So if I do a lot of quests and for one faction and get a lot of reputation with them, if you joined, you will not inherit my reputation. You will have they don't know you as a player yet.
Okay, so it's even if you join someone else's game, it's still your individual experience. You're not a copy of the main character. That's to say, yeah.
Exactly, and if you don't like your character, you can even create a new one, and they can have different equipment, different everything. So you're not just. It's not some. I know some games like you are like one character and it's like a clone who's just running around. This is you are an individual character, but the main quest is shared by everyone. So if someone does a quest, everyone does a quest.
Yes. You mentioned again, we talked a little bit about the story. When we jumped in here, we just jumped into gameplay. But is there any sort of like cutscenes and like how is it gone trying to tell this story?
Yeah, there's no cutscenes. We spend a lot of time writing like old school, doing the journal. So if you are in the PlayStation controller, if you press one of the left buttons, top buttons, you get the bar on top, and there you can see the codex and the journal.
Yes.
And in there every time we do something, we write more about the story there, another entry. So as you do something with a quest, there's like a summary of what just happened. I think it's more like a Baldur's Gate two type of style.
Yeah, and this was all. Is most of this like based on real? Like, if I go ahead, Torvtvast, is that based on like real research from the real world?
The Torvtvast, I think that's a troll. So
okay, not a real troll, but yeah, but it's mostly based on like Norwegian folktales and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. You have the side quests and you have main quests, and then I think the some of them are very grounded in historical accuracy, or if you're trying to help something with something that was common to do at that time, helping them with some sickness or disease where you actually have to get those flowers, and some are find these trolls, which could be which are more like fantasy.
Yeah. So we've seen the game now. I want to just, in the final minutes, ask you, how has it been? Because you mentioned this is your first game. How has that process been? And maybe especially thinking of you've been doing this really ambitious game, trying to actually like set limits on how much you're gonna do. How has that process been within the team?
I think we try to avoid scope creep, but I think also in the open world game you always want to do more and more to make it interesting, because if not it's just very open. I think this is also, I mean, this is a Norwegian game, but also if you've ever been walking in the mountains as a Norwegian, you're very ambitious when you are at home. Yes. And if you knew how far it would be, maybe you wouldn't do it. But once you're in there, you can always walk a bit extra. So it's like if someone asked me if you knew how much pain it would be, would you do it? Maybe not. But once you're in it, you're just going to get sucked in, and then try to constantly improve it.
This is maybe going to be a difficult question to answer, but do you have like one feature or thing that you've had to like say, no, we can't do this? Because as you said, you're not a global team with hundreds of people working there. Do you have anything you're like, yes, we had to cut this?
I think everything about cutscenes, like or lip syncing, or because I know a lot of people like playing Crimson or Kingdom Come Deliverance. They really like those cutscenes. I mean, there's no chance we can actually have a good game with that in with the team we have.
Yeah, and I just said it's more about the co-op experience, not the cinematicness of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
If people want to try this game, tell them where to go.
Go to Steam, search for Eydigard, and it's we are in early access. We're constantly adding more content, and we're also fixing issues as soon as we identify them. I think now the game is in a better place than it was at launch. So it's there, and then if you want to wait for the full release, then wishlist it and wait for the full release, which will be maybe next year.
Which will be in the future. Wonderful. Jostein, anything else you'd like to say before we go on to the next segment?
Well, thank you for having this event. It's really cool seeing Games of Norway. I think it's really been an event that we should have in Norway, because it feels like Sweden is the only one making games in the Nordics, and it's not true once, as we see with this festival.
We're hoping we can come back next year and many more years. Maybe we can see next year how far you've come from the early access point for that. Maybe next year you'll have cutscenes and a huge team, and maybe not. Maybe not.
maybe not.
Thank you very much, Jostein. For the stream, we're now going to have a quick break, and then we'll be back with more content from the Games of Norway live stream.